Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of L.A. Noire. I played it on the Xbox One. It's also available on the PS4 and Switch, and I believe PC, but don't quote me on that one. So the story goes, you are Cole Phelps, you are an LA police officer, and you basically stumble upon a case, it makes your career, you become a detective, and you bounce around from a few desks. You start off at traffic, you move to homicide, and homicide is a pretty interesting one in my opinion, because a lot of the murders share some similarities. The annoying part for me is they keep comparing these murders to the Black Dahlia murder, which, I mean, the MO is just completely different, so that was weird to me. You get to know Cole Phelps and his partners, and you get to see their relationships grow, you get to see some of them grow as characters, and it's a pretty interesting story overall. I'm not going to go into too much detail, because there is an overarching story. I just don't want to talk about it too much to avoid spoilers. As for the audio, I think the audio in this game is very well done, specifically the voiceover work. It's truly excellent, and it really needs to be because this is a very story-driven game, so good voiceover work means more believable characters. The rest of the audio is good too when you're doing gunfights, when you're doing driving, etc. I like the soundtrack. I do like the music that comes on the radio. It does give you that like 1940s vibe. As for the mechanics, this game is very much open world. You get to drive around 1940s LA, so that's pretty cool in like 1940s cars. You get to participate in some 1940s police work, you get to participate in some 1940s fist fights, gunfights, car chases. But at the core of the game is the investigations depending on what desk you're at. You get to examine the evidence, interrogate people, not interrogate people, question people, because some of them aren't suspects. And that's kind of where the core gimmick of this game is. They went in and they did a lot of work to really capture facial expressions so that you could try and figure out if somebody's lying based on how their face looks, facial expressions they make while they're saying things, or if they're telling the truth. There is one major problem with that, and that comes down to your choices once you determine if somebody is lying or telling the truth. That's a 50-50 thing. They're either lying or they're telling the truth. But you have three options. Specifically, you have the good cop, bad cop, and the accuse option. Accuse is you say they're lying and you need to back that up with evidence. Bad cop is if you don't think they're being completely honest, like get some extra information out of them. And if you think they're being honest, you go good cop. The problem is it's not that hard to tell if they're lying or telling the truth. It's hard to determine if you should be bad cop or accuse. So that was pretty obnoxious, and I do remember that being a problem when this game originally came out. Now, it's not just the missions. There are some side things like some police calls you can investigate, or not investigate, but respond to. And there's plenty of other things to find. There are collectibles in this world. As for the controls, surprisingly enough, I thought the cars were going to be garbage. It has been a long time since I played, and they were actually surprisingly smooth. I mean, I was legitimately impressed at how smooth they were, considering you're driving 1940s cars, and those things were freaking boats. That having been said, the on-foot controls were not always amazing. There were a few times where I had issues getting through doorways because I don't know why. The shooting controls worked pretty well. The auto assist was not always locking on, and it was kind of weird. Like, I'd be pointed pretty close to an enemy and it wouldn't lock on for some reason or another. But overall, they worked well. Now, as for the graphics, I've got to say, this game has in some ways aged fine and other ways aged terribly. It's kind of weird. There's a weird juxtaposition in this game because the world itself, like LA, looks excellent. The buildings have a ton of detail. You can see like individual pebbles in the asphalt. It's really impressive. The plant life does not look as good, but like the cityscape stuff does. The other thing that does not look super impressive is the faces and the people in general. I had forgotten that. Man, they don't look good. And yes, I understand this game came out a while ago. It came out on the 360 and PS3, but wow. The characters looked garbage then. They still look pretty garbage. I mean, they did do a great job with the whole facial capturing thing that I mentioned earlier. I mean, you really can tell when somebody's making a kind of hinky face and lying or being kind of evasive or something, but just overall, the detail there is not impressive. I guess the last thing I really want to talk about is I did have this weird glitch happen to me where my partner got got stuck. And by stuck, I mean I could walk into the store that I needed to, he didn't follow me, and then when I was done talking to the guy, he didn't follow me back out to the car, and then when I got to the crime scene, he was magically there, and he didn't follow me around the crime scene at all. He would just pop up whenever I was talking to somebody, and then when I got back at the car, he didn't follow me again. And that happened for at least 50% of the case. It was kind of annoying because your partner is how you navigate the city. It's one of the fun aspects of the game because they act as your GPS. But it also could have been ruinous to the game because sometimes your partner gets information over the radio while you're doing something else, and if you don't get that information, it could kind of screw up the case. Fortunately, that didn't happen to me. If it did, I would probably have a lot more negative to say about this game, wouldn't have the same opinion. But as it stands, I really enjoyed it. I think if you didn't play L.A. Noire before, now's a good time. If you did play it before, now's a good time. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you tell me if you're a fan of like the whole 1940s vibe? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share or subscribe. Have a good one.